When he came back into his body, he was Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, an enlightened master. When you conquer the fear of death, you conquer death itself, because death is just one more imagination. Just as in the Mooladhara Chakra, our greed makes us imagine the world to be more beautiful than it actually is. Here our fear makes us imagine death to be more frightening than it actually is. We wear glasses of greed and fear which don't allow us to see reality. When you experience death psychologically, you release the energy that has been locked in the Swadishtana. You release the energy that is locked due to the fear of death. When the Swadishtana opens, the whole quality of life changes. Because of your capacity to accept death as just a continuity in another form, your capacity to enjoy life is transformed. Your whole body relaxes. Your consciousness increases. Your living capacity expands. Whether you accept it or not, every moment of your life, the fear of death lingers in the subconscious mind. By understanding death and fear of death, your life will turn out to be rich. Not wealthy maybe, but rich. Richness is what is really important in life. But if I tell you all this now, you will not believe me. You will think that I am talking about impractical things. A small story. A man who had been born blind was promised a cure by a doctor. The doctor assured the man, after this operation you will be able to see. You won't need to use your stick anymore. Hearing this, the blind man became afraid. He said, Doctor, I understand that I will be able to see, but how can I possibly walk without my stick? The stick had become an integral part of the blind man, that he could not even relate to the fact that he can walk without the stick once he gets his vision. How can you explain to a blind man that once he gains his vision, he simply won't need the stick? Right now, he too is afraid. So all you can do is perform the operation and let him see for himself, that's all. He will throw away the stick on his own. In the same way, even if I tell you all your fears are only the ultimate fear of death, your self is immortal, it is only your body which perishes, and what not. If I tell you all these things, you will still hold on to your own ideas of fear out of sheer fear because you haven't experienced it. Unless death becomes a conscious experience, the fear will never leave you. But you can do one thing. Repeatedly listen to these words. Develop a conviction about them. Try to see how your minor and major fears are actually related to the fear of dying. Bring some clarity into your day-to-day fears. See how interrelated all your fears are. Bring awareness into your fears. Then you will steadily evolve and come closer to the truth. We can categorize all our fears into 5 major categories. The first is the fear of losing our wealth, our comfort, name, fame, prestige, all the outer world things. The second is the fear of losing our health, parts of our body, maybe through some accident or disease. The fears that are connected with our physical health. The third fear is the fear of losing our mental health or our mental stability. The fourth is the fear of losing our loved ones or losing their love. The fifth, the fear of the unknown, fear of God, fear of ghosts, and the fear of death itself. Actually, if you deeply analyze our fears, all the 5 categories of fear are fear of death only. They just manifest themselves in different ways, that's all. The main reason why people fear death is They have not lived their lives totally. They are afraid because they feel desperate that they have not lived life enough. They feel this way because throughout their lives they have lived in memories of the past, in the anxieties of the future, for the sake of others, never in the present. Every action of ours has been due to the pull and push of each other's ego, each other's desires, each other's emotions. If you deeply analyze your own life, you will understand what I am trying to say. You start your life where your parents left off. You simply take over the crown of desires, the guilt, fear, all this that was passed down for generations. And then you live your life and pass it down to the next generation before leaving. You have never lived totally. Now, what do I mean by living totally? Try to live with more clarity, that's all. Make the other people see sense in whatever they try to impose upon you. With clarity, you will be able to clearly identify what your own desires are, what others have imposed on you, and what desires you have borrowed from others. The first set of desires alone need to be fulfilled without any harm to any person or property. That is fine. The other two need to be dropped with the help of clarity. If you live this way, you will no more be fulfilling others' desires, and you will no more be living others' lives. You will live your own life and experience fulfillment, and you will be ready to die when the time comes. You will have no lurking confusion and fear of death. See, I am not asking you to be selfish. I am only asking you to bring clarity into the whole thing. A small story. Once a Zen monk was ordered by the king to be put to death. He was supposed to be killed the next day. The monk remained calm and silent. One of his disciples was shocked by the monk's calmness. He asked him, "Do you realize you have only 24 hours to live? Are you not afraid?" The monk replied calmly, "I have lived, therefore I have no fear of dying." He means, I have lived every moment of my life, moment to moment. Every single moment has been so much for me. Why should I be afraid? If you look deep inside, you'll realize that most of us are not afraid of dying, but we are afraid that we haven't lived our lives enough. We are afraid that we have lived a pseudo-life. We feel a kind of deep, unexplainable regret about the whole thing. We feel we have not lived as we wanted to live. We don't feel fulfilled, and there starts the fear of death. Continuously compromising for the sake of others, trying to live out a life that is not natural to us, trying to fit into a mold that society has prepared for us. All these things lead to a lack of fulfillment. The fear of life is what is reflected in the fear of death. When you have lived in the deepest possible way, to your full satisfaction, you will not be in fear of death. I tell you, live without fear. Live with the deepest individuality that you can manage. Live to your complete satisfaction. You will lose your fear of death. And one more thing. If you live totally, without any hangover of any feelings, when you live your emotions with great clarity and totality, you will never fear losing your family and relatives. You see, you fear someone's loss only because you feel you have not justified that relationship in some way in your life. You feel you have not been in it totally. You are not ready to let go. Physical separation is only one aspect of the fear. The real reason is lack of fulfillment in the relationship. The word justification comes into relationships because you have always been taught to live for the sake of others, fulfilling their needs and desires. You always feel the need to justify